Hello, good evening, good night, or good morning, wherever you are in the world. This is Robert Gibson, and we are here at FYI with Passionate Words Editing Services. FYI is we're looking to link authors and readers together in community, one book at a time. And we're here with Daniel Francis. We came in a conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I've started to find out more about him and his goal to connect the authors of the Caribbean into a Caribbean authors village. People always say that a village is what raises a child is a village, and we in the Caribbean, a lot of us grew up in villages. So the whole idea of a Caribbean author's village, as a wordsmith, as a writer, the word itself, the village, very important for community. So we're here to find out more about Daniel, about his publishing house. One Momentum Publishing does exactly what Passionate Words does. Is a self-publishing service for people who are wanting to learn how to get their thoughts from their minds onto the page and from the page out into the world. Daniel, how are you doing?
I am excellent. Thank you so much for having me on today. I'm very excited about this.
Yes, man. It's been a while. Like for the time that I heard about the village, and as soon as I joined the proliferation of community, I mean, granted, like 90% of the people so far on the are Trinidadians like yourself, but we're looking to bring in. I'm trying to bring in Barbadians. I just sent the group, sent it to my friends in Grenada, so hoping to do a real Caribbean connection. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and let me start.
Right. So I mean, as you say, my name is Daniel Francis. I have written 2 books so far, The Millennial Mind and The Millennial Experience. Funny enough, when my first book was launched was the moment that COVID came to Trinidad and Tobago. So that was a whole crazy experience of having to shift from a physical book launch to a virtual one. Then after the book, trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to deliver my book when the world is basically shut down? Who's going to care about reading? All these different things. And still having some semblance of success throughout that period with my first book and then my second one. And I would say that experience basically started me off into this whole journey of publishing and all these things, because it started simply with authors reaching out and saying, you know, I see your book and you're doing a good job and you're getting all these sales and all this, like, how do I do X? How do I do Y? How do I, you know? And it was getting to a point where it was a bit overwhelming. You know, every week they just ask questions. So I would have actually started doing monthly free webinars where I would just compile all the authors who kept asking me questions or aspiring authors and just give them the information. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. This is what you need to look out for. And I did that for 2 years.
Wow.
Until I got to the point where, you know, persons were asking, okay, well, can you maybe facilitate the publishing for me? You know, I said, well, sure. You know, I've done it for myself. Why not do it for you? And I slowly started taking on these clients. And then that would have basically birthed the company One Momentum Publishing. Got me started in this whole publishing thing, helping authors to create their books. And it's so funny, you know, this whole author village and the conference and all these things, this was not in the original plan. Similar to like publishing was not in the whole plan, but I'm a very spiritual man, you know, me and God is my brethren. So I like to think that he sets things up in a particular way for me to just follow along the track. And that's what I've been doing.
Yeah,
so even
that makes perfect sense. I love seeing the organic growth of it. You know what I mean? The organic growth of it, because that's exactly what my doing Passionate Words was sort of similar from the perspective of I started writing my own books, and then my mentors who told me, you know, you should really edit for other people. And imposter syndrome hit me for like a whole year. I was like, how do you do this? I don't know how to do this. I do it for myself. I don't know how to do it for other people. And it started from there, and it just like you, COVID and 2020 was a catalyst for things to springboard for me. So I definitely feel a kindred spirit on that too, because you know, being in the group, I myself learned stuff that that I hadn't known before. Like
Same here.
you
Same here.
like honestly, I had been again. I was dealing with my own book since 20. I think my first book was released in 2014.
Right.
And at that point in time, we'll get into the mechanics of this later on. But one thing I realized at that point in time is that as a Barbadian citizen, I cannot get direct deposits from Amazon. And so
Right.
I learned how to just get them to send me a check. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what all of these years, this is what I've been telling all of my clients to only come
Yeah.
into your group now and remember and be told about Payoneer. I'm like, and the thing about it is I have a Payoneer account. I have a Payoneer account for clients to send me money, but I did not even click to tell my authors get Payoneer, because for me Payoneer is, to me, I think is another level of resistance, because you have to get people into coming onto another platform,
Yeah.
like they know about PayPal. Payoneer is like PayPal. For those of you who are listening, again, I started jumping ahead of myself and talking shop. We weren't supposed to talk shop yet, but ultimately, well, anyway, when I just hold on, we can get to it. And so basically, as I say, the idea of Payoneer being something that I can tell them, I sort of avoided doing it because you're dealing with brand new authors, and you have to teach them or give them a new platform that they're gonna be a new platform, a new application, a new, downloading a new app on the phone, and that's gonna sometimes stop people from going on to it. But the idea of getting money directly into their account, versus getting a check, you know.
It's much easier.
So yeah, man. Honestly, like I said, I learned something. And even I remember somebody asked you that question, you were like, here's a video on it. And I'm like, hey, what? I want that. I need that video. So, this is why I'm very glad for the group, the author village, all of this, the connection, because we as authors, we as business owners, we as people will bounce ideas off of one another. Truly village, and I love it. I love it. I've had to mute the group because it is so busy. It keeps pinging on my
So
phone.
and that's the thing, when we did the groups, I told my assistant, I'm like, hey, we're gonna let these things be their own ecosystem. I'm not trying to tell anybody exactly what to do. Obviously, we had the little rules and regulations. Once everybody is within that, it's fine. But I think, I love watching how the ecosystem has just been doing its thing. People have their questions, they're being answered. We're all learning new things. I love that, because one of the major issues I had when I published my first book was that information was scarce to come by. And that information scarcity was crippling me. And I saw it crippling other authors. So every time I got a piece of information, I was like screaming it out of like a mountaintop. When I first heard about PNL, listen, I was telling everybody, because I know what it was like to not have information and be struggling to make proper decisions and to move forward. So that really is kind of one of the reasons why I was so happy that I came up with the idea for the group, because I just thought to myself, listen, everything I do, whether it's I'm launching this book, conference, whatever, it all has to come back somehow to empowering authors and educating authors, because I just think about what are the things that I wish I had when I was now becoming an author. And that's basically what we would have put into all of this. So I'm so happy to hear that, you're loving the group. You're one of the most vocal persons in the group, which I love. Every time I see you,
I'm vocal period. I'm vocal period. I like to talk. So I mean, but all right, so let's rewind so that because like I said, I jumped forward to come, now we got pulled back. So we explain to people what we're talking about. We were starting on one momentum. So we understand that one momentum started because of a need for yourself and seeing that need through other authors. And we've been seeing that going pretty well. That's leading to what? We've been talking about this Caribbean Author Village. Explain what that is, and let's bring people. We're all in the front. We don't have to run back and tell people and bring people to where we are, because like we going on, like we having a conversation that nobody else understands. So, what is the Caribbean Author Village?
Right. So the Caribbean Author Village is basically this this idea that I had where I wanted to create a group, and we have options of persons. You can do it either on WhatsApp or Facebook, where it's just authors, aspiring authors, writers, people interested in books, or whoever you may have it, all in a group. And the main purpose of the group is to encourage each other, to share resources about what we learned from different experiences of authors that can help other authors. And really just to kind of help learn different ways to promote ourselves. Because again, it all goes back to what I wish I had when I had my first book. Like, my experiences were terrible. I would have reached out to authors that I would have been referred to or found online, and a lot of them were very cool. Even though our books weren't in the same genre, I don't know, like, they saw me as competition, and they were holding tight to that information. And I didn't understand why. And going through the experience of publishing my books, getting these sales and doing all these things, I said, yo, this is information that I have to share, because this is going to help more people publish. This is going to help people who have already published to do more, right? And when I did my webinars, for instance, a really interesting thing would happen. I would have somebody come into the free webinar, and then a year will pass, and they'll be like, yeah, man, I published my book, and it's all thanks to the webinar. And I'll be like, that's amazing. And then he'll be like, yeah, and I passed on the information to like 5 other people, and those 5 other people have also published. I'm like, oh, that's even more amazing. And it just goes to show that you have to share the information. You can't keep this thing close to you. And that is that system, that environment that I'm trying to create within the Author Village, because there's a gap. And it should be that if you want to write a book, that information on what you need to know is so hard to find, or finding another person who can kind of talk you through some of the ins and outs, it should not be difficult. Right? And that's what I wanted to create with the Author Village. And I'm just happy to see how it's growing, and how the ecosystem is just kind of doing the thing, and persons are getting that help.
Yeah, man. I mean, it is, I mean, part of it is what's the word I'm looking for? Part of it is the shiny new things, right? So people come in and, it's all shiny and new, and everybody is chatting. But from somebody who has moderated and owned group chats, not just on WhatsApp, but on Facebook, I am loving the interaction, because this is one of the few groups I've seen where you have almost, like, if not 100% participation, you got like at least 90% participation. Whereas in groups, like I had a group where I was promoting my own books, which became the precursor to the company under which my personal poetry is released. Passionate Words is my business idea for bringing people together and publishing their own books. But I have a brand under my own name, under my own, it's called the Erotic Empire, because all of my work is erotic stuff. And so but it started as the Erotic Empire, started as a Facebook group. And the Facebook group went on for like 10 years, and 10 years, in that 10 years, it blossomed to hundreds of people. But to be quite honest, you had a core of like 20 who were talking, and you had the others that were just in there, right? So to have a group like this, that where you see it's growing and almost everybody's talking, to me, I find it, I love it. Like, people are coming in, and they might hang back and watch for a bit, and then they come and they introduce themselves, and then people say, oh, what about this? And they talk about blurbs, and they talk about this. I love it. So yeah, so for those of you listening to us, if you're interested, if you're in the Caribbean and you're interested, we will tell you about how to log in and become a member of the group, either on Facebook or on WhatsApp, or both, later on. But yeah, and I like the fact that you mentioned that you're going against the grain that you found when you were first publishing, as in you were reaching out to people and they were treating you like competition. And you were like, nah, we can't have this. Because in some forms or fashions, some people would say you and I are in competition, right? We do the same service. Ultimately, though, as far as I can see, there's room enough for people. There's lots and lots of room for everybody to eat, right? And there's lots and lots of room for everybody to eat. I did put my services in the group, and I had at least one person reach out to me and say, "Hey, let me find out which." And I would tell I was, a part of me was like, if I put my information in this group, will somebody be telling me, because you don't want the group to be about self-promotion or something. So is somebody gonna tell me don't do that? Or worse, is somebody gonna say, oh well, we don't want to hear from you. We got Daniel there already. I mean, not that I mind, but again, it is a matter of it's the organic nature of it, right? And none of that has happened. Some people have reached out to me, which is great. But otherwise, I am here as another resource to tell people. I have one of the things that I learned. I went on a course, for example, to people were talking about blurbs. I went on a course. I did a course, an online course from this girl who's now one of my good friends. But Blurb Magic is the name of her. It's the name of her company, the name of her course. She has an actual pretty much a formula, right, for both nonfiction and fiction blurbs. So I did the course. I can tell like that's the best $37 I ever spent. You know what I mean? So now people talk about blurs. I feel, and now not only that, I've done blurs for all my authors since then. It's part of my package. So now I can do not only do the blurs for the authors, but if anybody in the Caribbean village wants a blurb done, I can offer that as a service. You don't, because most authors hate writing those blurs. Most authors hate writing that because what they think it is a synopsis. And I've been trained it's not. It is sales copy. It is, I am writing specifically, and every word in there is specific to make you want to read the book. If it's just a synopsis, okay, this is what the book is about. No, I drop a hook there, then I pull you in with 2 or 3 chapters, then I drop a call to action. And when I do all of that, it draws people in. I get my blurbs and I pass them on to a couple of friends who have not read any of the books from the authors. And okay, read this. Tell me what you think. If their first reaction is, "Wait, I want buy this book," I've done my job.
Yeah, it's so interesting. When I first spoke to the team about what I wanted to do, a lot of them were very combative, especially with the group, because they said, "Okay, you're a self-publishing company. We're making a group. We're putting everybody in it, and people can do whatever they want. They can self-promote, blah blah blah." I'm like, isn't that competition? I said, listen, I think the understanding of competition in today's day and age is incorrect. Because just because 2 people do the same thing does not mean that they are in direct competition with each other. When I saw you did the promotion, I was like, great, good. Like this is what we want. Because at the end of the day, you might do things in a way that works better for somebody else than it works for them coming to me. I still want to have conversations with all the publishers in the group to see how we could all partner. Because, for example, what if somebody from Barbados comes to me and say, "Hey, I want you to publish?" I'd be like, cool, but here what? Let me do this piece, and then I'm gonna send you off to Robert to do a specific piece that deals with publishing in Barbados. And I think that's how it should work. Again, I really want it to be its own ecosystem. And for it to be its own ecosystem, you can't gatekeep in a particular way. You can't tell people that they can't do the thing that they are accustomed to doing. Because then that
it doesn't grow.
It won't work.
Yeah. Even today in the group when we had that conversation this morning, I asked for a group invite. The group invite link is how it makes it easier for me to pass on the information about the group. Because otherwise, I have to tell each person individually, talk to Daniel or talk to one media production, whatever. I'm like, I got to tell them directly when they could just drop the link in the group. And whoever is interested, they can talk because then you can then vet each person as they come in, And so once I said that, I saw the group link come in and I was like, hey, cool. I was able to drop it in. So it's all organic. And organic, and I like that. I love that. I wish the other groups had been in I wish all the other groups I was in was that organic, because
Yeah.
sometimes there's a lot more. I mean, things that I'm learning as well from being in international groups. I look into bring in I look into bring in into my own way of thinking, and possibly through that into the Caribbean Artists Village. Because, like, for instance, I never heard about style sheets before. And now when I go into international groups with editors, they're asking me what style sheet am I using. And the style sheet is, you have different types of style sheets for those who are listening,
Right.
different styles. And what a style sheet is literally a set of rules that you adhere to, so that there's consistency throughout your writing. So, for instance, the APA style, I can't remember what APA stands for, but it's focused on academic journaling and scientific journaling, and so everything is specific. The way that you cite, sources, how you deal with the Oxford comma, how like literally is a set of standards. And when you apply those standards, it applies globally. So anybody picking it up will recognize it. It has it and would pretty much accept it as being properly created and properly edited, because it's an international standard. For fiction, there is the Chicago Manual of Style, or CMOS. And again, these are things that I've just learned about. So I now want to go into learning about these things so that I can incorporate and bring a level of value and a level of um the professionalism of the company. Because then when I am dealing with somebody from the US who knows about these things, and they ask me, what style sheet are you using, I can say to them, they use CMOS, they use APA, or whatever. Or I can, and these, again, is one thing I love about the industry, is that it's evolving, and you learn. Just you come in on one level, and you can keep growing. You can keep growing and advancing. When I started in 2017, all it was doing was using Microsoft Word. It was using Microsoft Word and doing everything in Microsoft Word until until I had to edit and lay out a book that had pictures.
Oof.
Yes, pause for dramatic effect, because that was the most painful thing I ever had to do. Because Microsoft Word is a word processor. It is not meant for sticking pictures in particular areas. When you put a picture there, save it and open it back up, the picture moves. All sorts of stuff. Look, that stressed me out. But again, things happen, and I learned because of COVID. I was able to get my hands on the Affinity suite, the Affinity Publisher, Affinity Photo, and Affinity Designer, which are Adobe replacements. So Affinity Publisher is like Adobe InDesign. And so if you are accustomed using InDesign to lay out your books, Adobe is very expensive. It has a subscription. You have to renew that subscription every month, and it's very expensive. But when you buy Affinity products, you have that, and it's yours until they update. When they update from version 1 to version 2, then you buy again. But you do the micro changes from 1.1 to 1.2 to 1.3. Those are automatic, and your things get updated. But no, I don't use it. I use Word for what it's used for. I use Word for the editing. I use Word to edit. So you got the track changes on and all that kind of stuff. And once that's done, put it into Adobe and put it into to Affinity. I actually do a professional book layout with professional software without just using Word. So now, and I've been doing that now for like two years. So the first time I did it, it took me like, I ain't gonna lie to you, that book took me like 15 hours to do.
Jeez. Wow.
because Affinity has a high learning curve. It is not hard, but it's a lot of stuff and it's a high learning curve. But once you learn it, that same book I know can do it. Like that same book will probably get done in 8 hours now.
That's great.
So
Yeah.
so yeah, like we're talking all these things. Like I know we're slipping into industry. How do you find? I mean, the reason why you started your company is because you saw a need. People were coming to you wanting help. Is it have you only found well, well, first let's backtrack. You have a team. Who the people on your team and what do they do?
Right. So when I published my first book, I would have enlisted a team, right? I had somebody in marketing, somebody with help with the events, admin, and that kind of thing. So I tried to recreate that for this book as well, especially as the book is tied to the Caribbean Author Conference. It's a bigger undertaking. So I have Avalon Gomez, so she deals with all the marketing, the PR, and then she does some secondary work with the actual event. Then I have a friend of mine, Stefan Guevara, so he's the event team lead. We actually own an event logistics company together. So all things dealing with the actual conference, he takes lead on that, dealing with the supplier, the venues, everything that happens on the day, so that I'm not stressing myself out. They will be handling that for me. I have my assistant, Kishana, so she does all the messaging. She reaches out to the authors to add them to the group, gives them information when they ask about the conference and all these different aspects of things. And then I have a creative director, Ethan, so he basically comes up with a lot of the campaigns that we do, whether it be for the Author Village, whether it be for the conference itself. And I really rely on everybody in their little sectors, because let me tell you something, everybody's doing their own thing, doing it well, and I still feel very stretched in. Sometimes I'm getting so much information that I am repeating myself, similar to the group, because you're talking about asking for the link, and I already had this conversation with my assistant, and she's like, yeah, have them send the link, let them request, and I will message them. We had this conversation about 3 times already, but I'm just doing. It's like when you're trying to manage everybody, it's so much. So I'm so grateful for them, and this is something I always suggest to persons who want to self-publish, whether you're trying to do it on a small scale or large scale. Surround yourself with a team or people who can assist, because you want to be able to have them handle it well, give it all its focus, so that you can give your focus to the things that are important to getting a book out there, because it helps. Because as I'm sure you know, a book campaign, when it's time to launch, it can be a lot of things going on. Or you want to be able to know where all the parts are moving and know that they are moving on time.
Yeah, for sure. I need to build my own. I do have a smaller. I have a small team. I have someone who helps me with my covers. I have someone who I do have a proofreader. But I do need. I told myself the other day, I need to branch. I need to do the same thing you're doing. I need to have a admin, because I need to have somebody who's going to answer the emails. Because especially when I do a Facebook ad, for example, I do a Facebook ad, and even if the people just click on the ad, they just click on the ad, and there's some and somebody needs to be there to just forward the information to them. Like I came to the place where I have the information that I'm going to be repeating is in a Word document. So literally cut and paste and send out, cut and paste and send out. But I gotta do it because I don't have an admin team. For the majority of authors, it's like chief cook and bottle washer. They have to do it. They think that they have to do everything. They have to be the marketer. They have to be the they have to write the book. They gotta think, and it is overwhelming. It is overwhelming, especially when all you want to do is write. I have a small book that I give away for free if you want to join my newsletter. But I call it Author Incorporated, Developing Your Author Brand. And it's a small workbook that you can download for free and print out, and you can answer those little questions. And it helps you to start to think of yourself as a business. you are an author now, but you have a product and you have to market that product. But what does that mean? And what does your brand look like? Well, what do you think of? What do people think of when they hear your name? You know, when people hear passionate words editing services, I want them to hear dependability. I want them to hear confidence. I want them to be filled with this guy knows what he's doing. He's very personable, easy to get along with, and fast. Not that I'm gonna rush your job, but ultimately there's a streamlined process and everything gets done like that. And you are with every step of the way, I'm making sure you know what's going on, right? So all of those things are encapsulated, and so when people they're encapsulated in my name. Passionate is part of my stage name as a spoken word artist. And if there's one thing that I am, is passionate. I'm passionate about words. That's where the company came from. But I'm also passionate because I want to read your book even more than you do, which means I need you to I want to light a fire under you to get you to write. When you as an author say to me, I'm inspired to write, I've done my job. Because ultimately that's what I'm incorporating in every person who sits in front of me. So the same thing applies when you are an author. What are you trying to portray? What is your brand image? What is your brand voice? I am not a marketer. I learned these things from my own marketing consultant. But I took it as an introduction into brand development, small little introduction. And if you're interested, then I can put you on to her to get more information. But as you said, it's a matter of not gatekeeping. It's a matter of opening it up for people to get that information and spread it out to other people.
Definitely. Because even with my publishing company, I have different persons handling different things. I have somebody wants to come in for a kid's book, pass them on to that person. They deal with that. Self-help. I like self-help, so I will always take the self-help books. Fiction, somebody deals with that because again, when you try to do too much, you're pulling yourself out, and then the client doesn't get the best of you.
Yeah, exactly. Have you gotten any other clients from outside of Trinidad?
Yeah, so I've gotten ones from the States before. I got from Barbados as well, Guyana. But of course, primarily it would be Trinidad as I'm here. And people, and funny enough, the majority of them would have come from referrals from persons who would have been in the free webinars. So that it just goes to show when you give, you get back.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, one of my last newsletters dealt with a guy who his goal was to release a book, and he spent 2 to 3 years releasing free webinars. He's a screenwriter for like Just Shoot Me and Beavis and Butthead in the US and all that. So he's a screenwriter of some repute. But he spent 3 to 4 years doing free webinars and then answering questions on TikTok, all in the concept of building community, so that when he dropped that book, people were there to buy. So in the same way, you doing those free webinars was you giving people talk about giving away books for free and stuff like that, but what you're doing is giving people something to remember you by, and giving them value, especially for people like us. We're giving stuff away with that will benefit you, and that social proof, that seed, as it were, will come back, as you said, sometimes a year later, or something like that. I'm dealing with a client right now who came to me 2 years ago, and we talked, and he said, okay, I think it's a little bit too expensive, blah blah blah. And we were finished with that. Last month, the man come back to me like, okay, I think I'm ready now. I was like, okay. And you said, that 2 years passed and the price gone up, right? Well, he ain't care, because he something caught his attention about, again, social proof. Something about me kept him to keep my information. And 2 years later, he came. What I portray is always going to be the same. I love to laugh. I love to make people comfortable. I love to give them good customer service. Those are things that are built into my brand. 2 years later, my man come back. And I finished his book this last weekend. He has to know, he now has to approve the proof and approve the cover, and he's ready to upload. So it's all about, it really is all about showing, being yourself, knowing who you are, knowing what you are trying to give your client, in this case, your reader, and what kind of what's the word I'm looking for? What kind of experience do you want them to have? If you are a horror writer like Troy is, he came into the group recently and he loves Stephen King. Reading his books is gonna give a different feel to a children's author, right? So you have to, your feeling of how you feel about yourself and how you feel about your books has to spill over, and that consistency is what brings people in.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean, so where do you see the self-publishing space in the Caribbean? Where do you see it going? Because I know that people still say to me, some people are still of the opinion, wrongfully in my opinion, that a book is better off when it's traditionally published than self-published. I told them that might have been the case back in the day, but I think that that's changing because the space is so easy to, I mean, when you say A, you gotta say B. It is so easy to self-publish that a lot of people are self-publishing a bunch of crap. But at the same time, I think that having the ability to self-publish has opened up so many doors that traditional publishers were the official gatekeepers back in the day, but now the information is so widespread. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think it's easier now than it's ever been to self-publish. I think I always think there are just different levels of people. There's a person who will take the time, watch all the videos, read the books, do the courses, because the information is out there and they self-publish on their own, right? Then there are people who don't want to do all of that. They just want to pay someone and trust that they know and they get it done, But the way things are established right now, it's very easy. Well, I won't say very easy, but there's the ability for you to do it yourself. This whole idea of going through a traditional publisher, of course, like anything else, there's some persons that it works for, and then there are others that it doesn't. I think there's this understanding too that when you're trying to go that route, you might have to send your manuscript to hundreds of people, of publishing companies. You may have to get an agent, all of that takes from what you will be getting at the end of the day. If you're okay with that, then sure, but I think it all depends on, and this is what I always try to ascertain for persons who are trying to publish. What are your goals for your book? And what are the goals you have for yourself? Even with my book that's coming out, that's the first thing I talk about, goals. Because when you are going the publishing route, you have a lot of decisions to make. And you want to make sure that those decisions are aligned with some kind of goal that you have in the future. So for example, with me, my first book, The Millennial Mind, I have been teaching about personal development and leadership development for years. People knew me as that guy. So when I did a book for millennials, teaching them about personal development, it just aligned perfectly with my business. So in my mind, I said, does it really make sense for me to go the traditional publishing route, where now, even if I get through, I mean, it's not going to be fully mine. Or do I want to bite the bullet, learn the process, invest in myself, put the book out there, but align that book with my business? And to me, the latter just made sense, because now success of the book is then funneled into the success of myself and my business, which then helps me get clients. So the book is doing well, but it's more helping my business and myself to grow and to kind of create this idea of being a niche leader. And I think that just kind of segues into an understanding that people need to have when it comes to books. It's not always just about the book sales. It's about, what is the book doing for you? Is the book making you a niche leader? And by making speech leaders, it growing your engagement, growing the amount of people who are paying attention to what you're doing, because that can be more advantageous than selling at all the companies.
Of course, of
right?
course.
More doors, it adds you to the conversations that you're not even knowing are happening about you. So I would always tell people, when it comes to books and publishing, really think about what is the outcome that you want. And then that will help you decide what is the route you go, whether self-publishing, traditional publishing, some kind of in-between. You really have to be clear about your goals.
Yeah, honestly, that makes perfect sense. I've seen this over and over again. Your book segues you into it puts you, as you said, it lets people see you as an industry leader, as a thought leader, and it then puts you in conversations that you didn't necessarily expect that you were going to be in. So for sure, I've seen it. I was watching I think I was watching something where a guy from Shark Tank talking about he was a ghostwriter, and he found the same thing happened, that he was writing for all these different people, but his name started going in all these different directions that he didn't anticipate. So for sure, it's something that, I love that, focusing on goals, or actually figuring out what your goal is in the first place. A lot of people just write. I started just by writing. I had the idea in my head and I just started writing. The poetry came because I was a spoken word artist, and my audience that was watching me perform, they're like, this is 2013, 2014. So they're like, okay, where's the book? I want a book. So I sat down one day and I created my first book. It took me an hour. I had all my poems in my archive in my Dropbox, and I had decided my niche. I had been deciding that I was gonna be an erotic poet, and I was gonna focus on eroticism and not specifically social commentary as most other poets do in this genre. And I decided again, I can focus on something different. And so I sat down and did my first book. And because I had all the poems there already, and literally was pulling it together in an hour. But then you have people who have the thoughts but don't know how to articulate them. You have who have gone to the stage of writing but are afraid to speak. I said in the group yesterday, I think writing is in and of itself a solitary and somewhat lonely endeavor. But being there, you come into this group with all these different people, it gives you a sense of community, that gives you a sense of purpose, right? Yeah. So, I feel that I definitely love the ideas. I'm glad that I joined the group. I'm glad that I had a chance to connect with you and truly you come into the group. And for sure, I am not sure, like I said, personally, Passionate Words may not be physically present, at least not this year. But, for sure, looking forward to virtual. And I want to be able, we definitely going to have a conversation about partnership, because I want to figure out how we can benefit as business owners, and, passing clients along and pushing the entire globe, the space, not only in the Caribbean region, outside. Right?
And I mean, that kind of segues perfectly just to chat about the conference itself, because the actual village, the author village, was really just step one, because I thought the village would be great, and then when the idea for the actual conference came to me, I'm like, this is perfect, because I would have actually wrote my book, How to Write and Self-Publish as an aspiring Caribbean author, in 2022. And when I had the book, I just thought, I need this to be that book that helps those authors who don't know what to do, the aspiring authors who just been trying to figure it out. Because I just thought back to when I had started off, I needed all that information in one place, and it just wasn't there. So I said, you know what, I'm going to be very patient about this. I have no rush. So waited the full year, met with the team multiple times, and this was the fruition of that. This Caribbean Author Conference, whereby we're taking all these individuals in a group and giving them a platform to now set up, sell their books. So the first aspect of the conference from 4 to 7. Authors can come, set up, they promote in their book. It's a free space because I think, well, I don't think I know. One of the hardest things about being an author is promoting a book, having that platform to do so. So I said that had to be the number one thing. So that's why that is the first thing in the conference. And then when you get to the actual conference, it's going through some aspects of the book, you know, talking about the writing, the editing, how you like putting it up on Amazon, the expectations, the marketing, the sales, the copyright, really giving that needed information so that persons who are now starting off can say, yo, this is a great start. And they build from there. And of course, published authors might see little pieces of information that you didn't know, or a good refresher kind of things. But of course, then taking it to a point where we're all there, we're meeting each other, we're mixing, we're mingling, because that is important as an author. We don't have that many pieces on this level to now have it. So I'm just very happy, you know, that the team and I can come together to create this first ever Caribbean author. I think it's a big deal. We really pushing ourselves here. So April 23rd, I know it is in Trinidad. So of course, for those from other islands who would like to tune in, I mean, you have the opportunity. We'll be streaming it if it is you can't come in, because I want to share this with everyone, right? So of course, you can go to ompublishing.org, sign up. If you can't come in person, still sign up. We'll send the link to you. You might be able to join the Caribbean Author Village. And again, it's not just for authors. It's for aspiring authors. There are many persons in the group who are just asking questions. They start working on the book, just asking the needed questions. It really makes me reminisce, because those are the same questions that I had when I first started writing my book. So I'm just happy to see that, you know, they're getting those questions answered in much more detail than I got back then, by the way. So that is lovely to see. And of course, you know, those who are able to attend will also get a copy of the book as well in the goodie bag, with some other little goodies. You know, before we started this, I was talking about how I spoke with the intellectual property board in Trinidad and Tobago. So they will be coming on board to give that all the information on copyright, which is one of the frequently asked questions that I always get from authors wondering about that stuff. So really happy to get them on board. And they will be adding some needed information within the goodie bags as well. So this I think this is something that's super needed. I'm very happy to be able to fill that space. This will not be the only one. The real goal is to do that twice a year. Let's see how I go after this. I thought to say if I have the energy to do it twice a year or once a year, but you know, the response has been overwhelming, because I think people recognize that, or you know, what I thought was something that maybe I was only experiencing. Most authors are experiencing this. There's no space for us really to kind of have that level of camaraderie and networking and sharing of resources. There's no place really where you get all the needed information in one place, hence why I wrote the book. And there's just no spaces where we can have that face-to-face interaction as well, which again adds another layer to it. You know, I was real happy. I think there was like 2 or 3 people who told me they're going to be flying in for the conference. And I was like, yeah, this is great. You know, this gives me hope that, okay, let's do this again, let's do it bigger and focus on another topic for the conference. So again, this first one will only be the beginning. If you're interested, you can go to ompublishing.org, sign up. If you're here, you can get the tickets to come through. But you know, I think this is just the beginning, and I can't wait to see how things go.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I wish I had the money to come in. It's way too early. It's like that's next month, B. I can't afford it.
Almost 4 weeks away.
Jesus. Well, to be honest, not only I myself, I'm actually going to be overseas next month, so I can't even come because I'll be performing in Ohio around that same time, so I won't be able to be there. Or if things were working the way I guess how I will go to Trinidad, do that, and then immediately fly out to Ohio. So, but we will see how it goes. But so definitely, Daniel, thank you so much for being a part of the show. This is also something I wanted FYI for, I called it FYI for a reason, because this is exactly what you're looking to do, spread information as well, and using this platform to spread information. So definitely we can, you know, let others come and tell everybody to come and subscribe as well. But for sure, I'm grateful that you had a chance to come. You had a chance to talk about the conference, the village, everything. And you're telling them to come and sign up. But how do they get in contact with you? How they get in contact with Wine Publishing, and give them that? And then just before doing that, we've been doing it all the time, but we're gonna end off with this. Give the people inspiration, the aspiring authors who are, again, we talked about it just before, they're afraid to publish, they're afraid to go out there. Give them that needed push to get it done. Give them a little bit of inspiration, and then end off with how they can find you.
Okay. Personally, I believe that there's a book in everyone. And I know people think that there's personal development or this genre or that genre, it's been done before, but it's never been uniquely by you. It's never been done with your personality. And even if you have 10 people read your book, you don't know how your book will affect them and what it will do for them in the future. I remember I got an email from a girl, this would have been last year. She's from Iran of all places. Wow. She sent me an email saying that she bought my book off of Amazon. This is the first one, The Millennial Mind. She said the book changed her life. She said that she had never felt like someone was speaking so directly to every experience that she's been struggling with. And she would have sent the email and said she shared it with her friends. She wanted to translate the book to a different language so that persons over there can read it. And I'm like, this is amazing. This is something that you can never quantify. So by you not writing that book, by you not publishing that book, you might be robbing someone of an amazing experience, you know? So don't be afraid. I know it seems like a big leap, but it's really not. And the positive effects that you could have, the changes that you can make to someone's creativity, to their ability to act, could be innumerable. So just take that one step, right? You have persons like Robert, you have persons like me to help you along the journey. So you have to be afraid. Yeah. Right. And so for anyone who's looking for us, you can find us. It's OM Publishing on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or One Momentum Publishing. We're all over the place. Anybody who was interested in getting information on the actual conference, joining the village, any of these things, you can go to ompublishing.org. We have different sign-up forms there. And of course, I know a lot of the book, if you're interested in the book itself, I know it's here, but it will be on Amazon from the day of the launch, right? So don't worry, for those in Barbados who would like to get it, or any other the Caribbean islands, you can always order it from Amazon, and soon I'll get it into the bookstores over there, hopefully.
Yes. With that. Maybe I can help you with that. That's easy. Well, thank you so much. Well, thank you so much, Daniel, for sure. This has been a really good interview. I really enjoyed it. We need to do it again, because, like I said, there's so much that we could talk about, and I honestly want to do segments of FYI that are specific to the publishing industry. So FYI is specific to the authors and talking about the authors and the books, and then inside the industry, I already have it in my head. Inside the industry is the next playlist, and we're talking about how to push the industry forward from a Caribbean perspective into the international scene. What can we do to make it more affordable? Maybe what can we do to make it more accessible? Because it isn't a matter, and how do we even explain to people that they need to invest? It's okay to try to make it affordable from our perspective, but people need to understand that writing a book is actually a very expensive endeavor. It really is. I mean, if it's not in time, it will be in money. If it's not in money, it is in time. But if you want to do it, if you don't want to spend the money, you have to spend the time to learn how to do it yourself. And if you don't want to spend the time, you got to spend the money, because you know it costs time and money for somebody to do it. So, you know, and there are so many things that we can do to push. Like, this is one endeavor. Like I said, I really want to find a way to partner with y'all. So we definitely gonna have this conversation to how we can partner and push the self-publishing space all across the Caribbean and into the international world. So yes, we definitely gonna do this again. Thank you so much for being here once again. This has been Passionate Words Editing Services. This has been Robert Gibson, FYI with Passionate Words. We've been talking with Daniel Francis about all sorts of different things, publishing his own books, the Caribbean Author Village, the Caribbean Author Village Conference, all of these different things. If you just joined us, definitely need to go back to the beginning and watch the entire interview. I guarantee you're gonna like it. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow, make sure you comment, tell everybody about this space. If you want to come on our page and talk to us, if you want to be here and have a conversation about your own book or about anything related to books and publishing, definitely hit us up. You can hit us up on our commenting below, or Passionate Words Editing Services on Facebook, or passionate.words.editing246 on Instagram, or just DM me. I can give you all that information. Yeah. So this has been Robert Gibson. This has been FYI. See you next week.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
All right.